Today's song is called Drowning. Have you ever been so lonely that you decided to act jokingly out of desperation? We've all been struggling on our own, right? Contacts on the phone, yet still all alone at night. Sometimes it can feel like I'm drowning when I go too long without these rhymes and start frowning. We all have our own ways to cope whenever we feel like we've lost all hope. People do crazy things for love and for their belief in the love of what lies above. We all go through our own fair share of misery, but damn, have I been lonely lately. Won't you join me on another musical journey and listen to my story? When I was younger, I used to be clingy to the point I would trigger nearly everyone to leave me, because I wouldn't stop talking about my constant misery. Didn't nobody want to talk to me, and I ended up in isolation deeper than ever for that one simple reason: boy, wasn't I clever. So I decided I would never be clingy again. Didn't tell anyone, but developed the three-message rule within. If I sent three messages or more and didn't get a reply, then I'd stop bothering them with what was I. Or is it me? Not really sure what else it could be, so I started to think I was the problem, actually. Not anything with which I had done necessarily, but just for the simple act of becoming my own pedigree. There was no other like me, and as a result it led me to an unnerving loneliness and an internal hopelessness. And for many years it felt so hopeless on those nights I'd fight through my tears regardless. Had no choice at the time but to make myself heartless and let my soul rush as it felt sublime. There's a hidden area not many emo dare to go, but I do though, and came out the other end as an immortal who would always know to care. I found death and decided to take him up on his offer to share our breath with one last test. If my pain tolerance could survive his torture, he would make me into an immortal creature. Thus he made my life into a double feature, as I felt the soul fall down into the body and become whole. Sometimes when I'm writing these rhymes, it feels like my whole life I've just been drowning in emotion. I'm drowning in emotion like they drowning in the ocean. Don't cause such a commotion, going numb as a promotion. My whole life I just been drowning, drowning in emotion. Tired of trying, tired of crying. Not much laughing. Lately I just been feel like I've been drowning, drowning in emotion, causing a commotion, simply for existing. I'm drowning in emotion like they drowning in the ocean. Don't cause such a commotion, 'cause going numb is a promotion. My whole life I just been drowning, drowning in emotion. Tired of trying, tired of crying. Not much laughing. Lately I just feel like I've been drowning, drowning in emotion, causing a commotion, simply for existing. Took many years fighting my many fears, but I regrew my heart eventually to become a new me. Went from calling myself a poet so lonely to the one called Ghosty, filled with so much anxiety. He could easily abandon society, and of course he would feel shitty but justify it easily, assuming they could be better off without him and that he is not worth all the fighting. But deep down the voice tells him that's just anxiety, but he doesn't know if that's just the voice of pity. It could be a liar so easily speaking words so pretty trying to ease his anxiety. So he must think about this logically about with 95% of people ignoring him. He must be a burden on his city and all who speak to thee. The, see how he can force the rhyme so easily, almost as easily as the crimes he committed within his city. The crime of begging for attention when younger and growing up to be a social blunder. With a voice naturally loud like thunder, he tore their assumptions about him asunder. He would wait years for a reply, just thinking maybe he would ask why he had been left on red and left for dead, at least how he felt deep within his head. The answer was they were busy for 5 long years, so he ignored his tears and ignored his fears, gave them another chance, and once again their friendship played this awkward dance. He didn't want to intrude, be rude, or seem clingy, so he would go weeks without speaking to she. Eventually she grew tired of him and once again abandoned him, so he didn't know what he did, but logic told him that as this was becoming a pattern, that maybe the problem was simple. He just had to accept the logical answer and let it wash over him like popping a pimple. If he had done nothing wrong and was not hideous, then his existence was wrong. Was it not obvious? He simply was. Drowning in emotion. I'm drowning in emotion like they drowning in the ocean. Don't cause such a commotion. Going numb as a promotion. My whole life I just been drowning, drowning in emotion. Tired of trying, tired of crying. Not much laughing. Lately I just feel like I've been drowning, drowning in emotion, causing a commotion, simply for existing. I'm drowning in emotion like they drowning in the ocean. Don't cause such a commotion, going numb as a promotion. My whole life I just been drowning, drowning in emotion. Tired of trying, tired of crying, not much laughing. Lately I just feel like I've been drowning, drowning in emotion, causing a commotion, simply for existing. Well, after this had all got down, he eventually learned how to hide his consent frown, and he once again walked around the town sharing his sound with all those that he found. But it kept happening, and those he considered friend kept abandoning. One he had once considered best friend had ignored his last three texts, so he held true to his rule. He didn't want to seem clingy, so he thought, I'll wait for him to text me. No anxiety. But 3 months later, and he still hasn't heard back from him either. There seems to be a trend here. Cool, I always wanted to be a trendsetter. But a trend lonely as this? I would never. But I digress. It went from 17 over a few weeks to 30 over 3 months and 60 over 6 months. He was so close to going back into isolation, but he thought he had the mental strength of thought to action despite his each and every distraction. So one day he wore his shades and without hesitation asked for a phone number. He expected more rejection like saving the Everglades, but surprisingly he got a yes. Thought he would at least get a reply, and even if nothing else, maybe a new friend, no lie. But that reply never came. Waited a few days and sent a funny and cute viral video. Got more of the same. This was just one person too many, and for that final rejection he simply wasn't ready. So he was already losing his closest friend, and couldn't seem to find anyone with which to set a new trend once the old friend had jumped ship. Then he got rejected once again, and it finally destroyed his pride within. Had him feeling like nothing if he wasn't bluffing, so he thought it might be time to start ghosting, because he asked himself, what's the point in trying, if it always led to crying? At least without attempts, there wouldn't be any failures or disappointments upon his conscience. So maybe it was time to give up on making any new friends like this. At least he wouldn't be a bother on society or have to disguise his mentality when he was out publicly.